Hi, I'm Dr. Bergina. In this segment, we're going to talk about acceptance. And in some ways, it's exactly what you think it is. But in others, it's quite a bit more. I remember sitting at a desk quite like this about 8 years ago when our doctor raised a concern about autism for our son. And I wasn't able to accept either the diagnosis or anything that it entailed at that time. Now, as a psychiatrist, I'm used to giving that diagnosis and not receiving it. So when I finally was ready to do something about what our doctor said, I started asking other parents what they did. That eventually led me to interviewing parents from all over the world, asking them what their system for success entailed. And I found that the majority of parents formed almost two equal camps. Either they were able to immediately embrace at least a portion of the diagnosis and jump into action, doing something, anything, to find out more about the diagnosis and how they could help their child. There was the other camp that always seemed to have a delay in terms of what that action took. And it could be anywhere from a few months to several years. Well, I was definitely in the delaying camp because it was almost 6 months before my son was formally diagnosed with autism. Now, I want you to embrace every opportunity for your child and yourself to function at your highest potential. And that definitely starts with acceptance. Accepting of yourself and your abilities, accepting your child and their different abilities, and yes, accepting the diagnosis. Acceptance of the diagnosis is key. Now notice I didn't say accepting of the label associated with autism or the label associated with mental illness in general. There's stigma, mythology, and actually a lot of false teaching about mental illness. And that's where the labels come from. That's not what we're embracing at all. We're embracing the diagnosis because the diagnosis drives the treatment. When you're thinking about what you can do to support yourself and to support your family, you have to have an accurate diagnosis. I can't tell you how many parents and clients and patients that I've had who unfortunately have been misdiagnosed. People have poured a lot of energy and resources into that misdiagnosis only to have to backtrack when the actual diagnosis has been made. So again, the diagnosis drives the treatment. Now, acceptance is often associated with both action in some way as well as advocacy. So going back down that line about action, I want you to be informed decision makers. I want you to learn how to understand data, and I also want you to be able to know whether or not the data is appropriate to you and your loved one. In terms of the acceptance, I want you to accept that you can do this. I want you to understand that you and your loved one are accepted in the beloved, and that this is in many ways a gift. Where most people take walking, speaking, driving completely for granted, every time you and your loved one meet a milestone that they've struggled with, it's like receiving a gift all over again. And there's an acceptance process that goes along with it. There's also accepting and understanding that each of these opportunities could previously have been called obstacles, as we talked about in the introduction. So being able to shift your thinking from only looking at the limitations of the diagnosis to looking at the great gift of extra time, extra opportunities, and yes, the development of a great deal of patience, those in and of themselves can be very worthwhile. Thank you so much again for joining me. I hope this video has been helpful for you. Love to have you reach out to us and tell us what you're thinking and in what ways you are accepting your child, accepting yourself, and moving into action and appropriate advocacy in your life. You guys have a very blessed day.